Well, hello there. I'm Stephanie of Dimos Intuitive Arts, and welcome to Reflections for Real Life. Thank you for coming back if you've been here before, and welcome if it's your first time. This channel is a platform that we like to use to build up community even more than the way we do it via virtual and in-person workshops at different places and different spaces. If you want to learn more about us, please feel free to go to Demos Intuitive Arts and see all the upcoming workshops. We'd love to have you join our ever-growing community. Today, I'd like to use an artist as our inspiration for our personal reflection. Remember, this channel is called Reflections for Real Life. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. I'm going to offer out a thought before we actually look at the artwork. I'd like you to think about how differently your life may be if you stopped coming from it from a performative direction. And what do I mean by that? So we spend a lot of energy getting ourselves to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, to present a certain way, dependent on where we are going and who we're going to interact with. That's very performative and very necessary for a lot of different reasons. But what I'd like you to think about today is how would your life look and feel if you didn't worry about those things? Okay. It's not like that you didn't do them, but if you didn't worry about those things and weren't coming from that performative direction and you were just embraced for who you were exactly in that moment with honesty, with vulnerability, and with very, very minimal energy put into the presentation part, more about who you were from within. Okay, so I'd like you to think about that. What happens when we stop performing and allow ourselves to truly be seen? That's what we're going to talk about today. So, to do that, I'm going to be using a work by a woman named Alice Neel. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to focus in on this piece. This is a portrait of someone whose name you probably recognize. And maybe as you're spending time with it, you may even figure out who it is. And as you're doing that, I'll tell you a little bit more about Alice Neel. She was born in Philadelphia and she was born in the year 1900. This piece was done when she was 70, so it's the 1970s. And she had quite a life where she pursued art pretty much for her entire life. And unlike some of the artists during that time period, from the 1900s into the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, there was a lot of experimentation taking place. And we had different movements of art. Abstraction, minimalism, abstract expressionism, and Alice Neel stayed true to her heart and what attracted her. And the things that attracted her were people. She wanted to use her vehicle of being a painter to look into the deeper souls of people and capture them when they were deeply human. So, this is an unusual piece in that it's of someone who is very well known and is also quite remarkable and unusual because this very well-known person, Andy Warhol, allowed her to show him at a very, very vulnerable time in his life. He had been shot, he had undergone several surgeries, and he's exposing himself by showing him his body in not a very, very perfect and performative way. He's sitting there with his eyes closed. I wonder what he was thinking when Alice Neel was capturing him. I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think he was thinking about? Exposing his scars the way only humans can. So, as we reflect on this piece by Alice Neel called Andy Warhol 1970, what's really powerful is that he is quiet and his body is telling the story in a way that he can't hide. Alice Neel is not flattering him. She's not doing him any favors, but she's doing something much more important, in my opinion. She's seeing him. She's really seeing him. She's not only seeing things that he wants her to see. To be admired is one thing, but to be completely seen is something else. So many of us move through our life managing the version of ourselves that we present to the world. And we want to seem fine. We want to seem capable. We want to seem interesting. But underneath it all, there's a much more human story. And that's why I chose Alice Neel to help us along, to tell us story and let you know that it's okay to tell your story any way you want. And that story can change from minute to minute and day to day. And if you haven't already started to capture and embrace that story, maybe it's through poetry, writing, painting, drawing, singing, dancing, um, uh, putting certain clothes together and wearing them out with certain finesse. Maybe it's time to start that. Think about what it is that you are when you're not performing. And that is truly your essence, and that is truly your soul. So, as we close our meeting today, our little gathering, reflecting human to human, I'd like to leave you with a really intriguing quote that Alice Neel wrote about. And she wrote, I am not painting, I am collecting the souls of others. And I love that she feels that our souls are so important to capture for all time to come. What can you do to expose your soul to another and let that carry your story through time? Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you an absolutely wonderful day. Please feel free to comment here or go to our website and email us. We would love, the entire Demos team would love to hear your thoughts. Have an absolutely wonderful day.